The poem is called Sentimental Education. It always manages to tickle me, the story. It draws on human conceit and stereotypes and caricatures. It also draws on the silliness of the disco 70s. Sentimental Education. Now here's a rich one from years ago, back when the beat of disco could spiral in hearts of darkness, and flesh was a form burning brightly above the dance floor. It's about a Saturday night, let's say, and I wasn't working or turning back the vagrant scholar's page, but in a bar instead, a low-life lover's place, when quietly a lady sat down and ordered a round for her and me. Well, she was a painting student, she said, and a dark Italian beauty I could see. Her layering long hair, her up-tilt face, and the small of her back to arch her poise on the balancing act. A little surprised I was, but not inclined to raise the dangerous question, why me? And so we turned to talking about schools of painting, even about high poetry and higher ecstatic feeling. Can't remember exactly what then I said. Something about the even darker, the enigmatic heart of Da Vinci, and how tender he was for touching upon the mystic body. But someone or some tutorial must have told the young student differently, since suddenly she turned in scorn and derision to say, I must be a classicist. So maybe I said form when the time was clearly right for saying flesh, or she not hearing the feeling part, and the haunted mystic's longing to body forth the passionate perfect. But soon it was she left for searching to find some other weekend Turk, with soon the time for me to leave too, and there was a dinner date to make with a literature professor and his paralegal lady. Oh no, she was legal, his friend. It was only her job confusing the issue. So off I'm running, and just in time, as tardy Toms could always make the good professor schizo. And I was warned before how he was a tilty titled Don, a voyeur, said the report, and his lady the sport. Dinner soon progressing, we chatting on things aesthetic, pre-Raphaelite posters on the walls, and certainly symbolists. What led to after-dinner liqueurs, with then the tour of artworks down the halls, and finally sitting on the edge of bed, with our compliant hostess standing close, soon standing closer, and soon seeing there the sadness right there in her eyes, while clearly the clang of libido bell ringing and our pale professor's cathedral throat, and he still talking through the novel-length stuff. But there, that sudden fin flipping in my middle heart, what made me start, what made me remind the authority, while looking up to his voluntary friend, of what the expatriate Irishman said about art, its closest property being, from how deep a life does it spring. Well, I must have affronted his safest philosophy, and maybe so, as soon he was screaming, yelling, cursing, you're a romantic, a fucking romantic. But already the compliant lady down in the kitchen moving spoons, and yours truly asked to go. Still, it was an early night, whose early feeling was for dancing, cresting, for spiraling, even for finding a consenting lady with whom to twine through a tune or two. And so it's off to a disco club, where the beat could be an excitable spell, carrying between excitable streets. And who should stand just inside the door but the twilight beauty, the artist type, the early evening's Italian girl. And so soon we were dancing, so soon out on the floor, the aspiring rising, the hot notes gliding as we lost all but the sensual senseless beneath the strobes, the sky, heaven's eye. It seems, however, the dark-haired dancer had forgotten about a thing before entering in on our close conspiracy, this being her escort for the evening, who was a gay guy upon whom the duty fell to call me out for a fight since I'd stolen his girl. But by then I'm too amused, more closely bemused, with trying to determine said predilections. After all, what was I, anyway? Man or mouse? Classicist or romantic? Lover of women? Freeholder for men? And just give me the beat, boys, and free my soul. I want to get lost in your rock and roll and drift away. So sweetly drifting away to where, some place where a more natural kind of perceiving eye leads the band. So then the fellow with Confederates victoriously marching off with Beauty by the hand, yes, leading the lovely Italian lady loosely by the wrists as she smiled her smile on her way into the private galleries of tomorrow. So then, deciding on a late-night diner, where a highway ballad or two was sometimes served, sometimes spewed, where students, workers, and young Turks were too tired, drunk, and hungry to hold the accessorized conceits in hand we mostly need throughout the day, and where an older, a wise waitress would let her customers in to see the patterning ways in which we had too seriously pursued these Saturday night alley glory things. She sang so over her coldest shoulder to silence the stray routies strutting by. I know what you are. You're always only men.